What if I told you that your morning coffee, your smartphone notifications, even the traffic lights on your way to work, all are quietly choreographed by a web of global technologies you never see? Every swipe, scroll, or stream connects not just devices, but economies, ideologies, and geopolitical strategies. The globalization of technology is not just about faster chips and smarter machines. It's a silent transformation of power, labor, sovereignty, and even war. So where did this begin and where are we headed? Let's rewind to the early 1990s. The internet was young, mobile phones were bricks, and globalization meant shipping containers and free trade. But something changed. The moment fiber optic cables snaked across the oceans, a digital nervous system began to form. From that point on, the globalization of technology became just as important, if not more, than the globalization of goods. Fast forward to 2025, and we're now standing on a razor's edge. Because as AI systems go global, satellites beam down internet to villages once isolated from the world, and quantum computing threatens to upend cybersecurity, the rules of the game are being rewritten. One of the biggest shifts? The power map. In the past, economic globalization was driven by Western corporations exporting capital and goods. Now, technological globalization has become a strategic arena dominated by a handful of digital empires. Think about it. Amazon processes more data than some governments. TikTok, owned by China's ByteDance, influences youth behavior in every time zone. And Elon Musk's Starlink? It's being used in war zones. That's no coincidence. Technological globalization is no longer just a business story. It's geopolitical. Governments are now racing to localize supply chains, secure chip manufacturing, and control data flows. The US, after decades of exporting its tech, is now pulling back, enforcing export bans on advanced semiconductors to China, blacklisting AI companies, and even forcing TikTok to divest. Why? Because the tools of globalization have become weapons. And China? It's playing its own game. Through the Digital Silk Road, an extension of its Belt and Road initiative, Beijing is exporting everything from 5G networks to surveillance tech across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. As of April 2025, over 60 countries now rely on Chinese-built digital infrastructure. But here's the twist. That infrastructure comes with data deals, backdoor access concerns, and digital dependence. That's not just economic leverage, it's strategic control. Now consider India. Once dubbed the back office of the world, it's evolving into a tech supernode. With over 900 million internet users and a booming startup ecosystem, India is positioning itself as a counterweight to China and a key ally for Western tech firms. Its digital public infrastructure, DPI, which includes Aadhaar, UPI, and DigiLocker, is being studied globally. But as more countries join the digital rush, the lines between public infrastructure and corporate empire get blurry. Who owns the pipes of the internet? Who controls the data? And what happens when private companies, not nations, become the real global actors? Take OpenAI. Its GPT models used by millions are trained on a mix of public and proprietary data. But where that data comes from, how it's regulated, and who benefits, those are questions without borders. AI globalization has outpaced law. As of this month, the US Congress is still debating federal AI laws, while Europe has moved ahead with its AI Act, imposing strict rules on algorithmic transparency. But enforcement is tricky when the tech transcends borders. And let's not forget the labor side of globalization. When factories moved to Asia, jobs vanished in the West. Now, with remote work platforms and digital outsourcing, even white-collar jobs are globalized. Platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, and TopTal have made it easy for someone in Manila to design logos for companies in Chicago, or someone in Lagos to edit videos for influencers in LA. But behind the buzzwords lies a darker story. Digital sweatshops, algorithmic exploitation, and data labeling farms where thousands earn pennies to help train AI systems. Even climate is part of this web. Tech globalization isn't green. The cloud isn't weightless. It's powered by data centers that guzzle water and electricity. In fact, as of April 2025, global data centers account for roughly 3.5% of total electricity use. more than the entire aviation industry. And with AI models getting bigger, that footprint is only growing. Yet there's another layer we rarely see: digital borders. Countries like Russia and Iran have built sovereign internet architectures, walling off their cyberspace from global networks. China's Great Firewall has now evolved into a sophisticated system of content control and algorithmic censorship. But here's the catch: even the US is not immune. In March 2025, the US introduced the National Cyber Sovereignty Framework, a set of guidelines aimed at protecting critical infrastructure from foreign data influence. Critics call it digital nationalism. Supporters say it's essential security. Either way, it marks a new era where digital walls are rising faster than physical ones. But while governments build walls, users build bridges. From VPNs to blockchain, from decentralized social platforms to peer-to-peer networks, people are finding ways to bypass borders. This tug of war between centralization and decentralization may shape the next phase of technological globalization. Now consider education. The rise of global edtech platforms has redefined access. Platforms like Coursera, EDX, and Khan Academy have allowed students from conflict zones to access Ivy League courses. But they've also raised ethical questions. Who designs the curriculum? What values are embedded in the code? And who profits from free knowledge? Even space isn't off the grid. Low Earth orbit is now crowded with satellites delivering internet to remote regions, but also collecting intelligence. As of this week, the US Department of Defense signed a contract with a private firm to deploy surveillance nanosats over Arctic territories. Meanwhile, China's Galaxy 2 satellite array now covers large swaths of the southern hemisphere. And when it comes to AI, the game is just beginning. In April 2025, a major breakthrough in neuromorphic computing, announced jointly by researchers in the US, Japan, and Germany, hinted at machines that mimic human brain patterns. This could revolutionize robotics, medicine, and even warfare. But unlike past innovations, these systems are being trained across continents, on datasets spanning languages, cultures, and biases. That raises questions no one is ready to answer. What happens when a machine thinks in many cultures at once? Who is responsible when it acts? At this point, maybe you're wondering, where is this all heading? Globalization, once about connecting markets, is now about entangling identities. As tech seeps into every layer of life, healthcare, finance, communication, it doesn't just shape economies, it rewrites how we relate to truth, control, and each other. The technological dimension of globalization is not a side effect, it is the front line. And as new powers rise, old alliances shift, and the world becomes more connected yet more fragmented, we're forced to ask a simple but urgent question. Is the future being designed for us or around us? If that question made you think, hit like, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more deep dives into the forces shaping our world.